Imagine going out for a jog in the evening to unwind after a long day, expecting nothing more than a peaceful run along a familiar path. But for Rachel Morin, this simple evening routine turned into a nightmare. On August 5, 2023, 37-year-old Rachel Morin left her home in Bel Air, Maryland, to jog along the popular Ma and Pa Trail, a trail that had always been a place of peace for her and countless others in the community. But this time, Rachel would never make it back home. What happened to Rachel that night? Rachel Morin was a beloved mother, friend, and member of the Bel Air community. Known for her kindness, Rachel was more than just a friendly face. She was a confidant, a mentor, and a constant source of support for her friends and family. Her 5 children were her pride and joy, and Rachel worked tirelessly to give them a good life. But Rachel was more than just a mother. She was also a woman with her own dreams and ambitions. After enduring struggles and heartbreaks, Rachel had recently turned a corner in her life, focusing on her own happiness. Just a few days before her disappearance, Rachel had made her relationship with Richard Tobin public. She posted a photo on Facebook, sharing her excitement about the new chapter in her life. Richard was no stranger to controversy, with a criminal past that raised some eyebrows. However, Rachel was drawn to his charm and believed that everyone deserved a second chance. On that fateful evening of August 5th, Rachel set out for her regular jog along the Ma and Pa Trail, a place she often went to clear her mind. The trail was beloved by locals for its scenic paths, tall trees, and quiet atmosphere. As she jogged along the trail, Rachel felt the calm that she always found here, a momentary escape from life's demands. As the hours ticked by and Rachel didn't return home, a deep sense of dread settled over her family and friends. Rachel's boyfriend, Richard Tobin, reported her missing to the Harford County Sheriff's Office around 11 p.m. on August 5th. Within minutes, law enforcement and Rachel's loved ones mobilized, launching a search operation that spanned the popular Ma and Pa Trail and nearby wooded areas. Local volunteers joined the search alongside authorities, combing through every stretch of the trail hoping to find her safe. By the early hours of August 6th, as the search continued through the darkened trail and surrounding woodlands, the atmosphere grew thick with worry and fear. The area was a place Rachel had frequented, and the familiarity made her absence even more unsettling. Officers scoured the trail, calling her name and shining flashlights into the dense undergrowth. Volunteers joined in, desperately hoping they wouldn't stumble upon something tragic. Their worst fears came to pass later that day. Around 1 p.m., a volunteer searcher noticed something off the path, roughly 70 to 80 feet into the underbrush. It was Rachel's body, concealed behind thick foliage and hidden from the view of anyone on the main trail.
The Harford County Sheriff's Office is investigating 2 major cases along the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air. The first, a missing woman. Investigators say 37-year-old Rachel Morin was last seen around 6 p.m. on Saturday when she went for a walk on the trail. The next afternoon, around 1 p.m., investigators confirmed they found the body of a woman along the trail. They have not identified her.
The scene was described as brutal. Bloodstains marked the ground, and there were clear signs of a violent struggle. Rachel had been attacked with such intensity that authorities immediately classified her death as a homicide. It was clear that whoever had attacked her had done so with horrifying violence and purpose. The specifics of Rachel's injuries were disturbing. Her body bore visible signs of physical trauma, and the evidence left behind told a story of a desperate fight for her life. Investigators worked through the area meticulously, collecting DNA samples and other pieces of evidence that might lead to the killer. As news spread, Bel Air was left reeling. The trail that once symbolized peace and beauty had become a scene of unimaginable horror. Friends, family, and even strangers visited the site, leaving flowers, candles, and heartfelt notes in Rachel's memory. The community was shattered, united in grief and disbelief. The initial investigation centered around those closest to Rachel, especially her boyfriend, Richard Tobin. Given his criminal background, many were quick to point fingers at him, suspecting that he might be involved in her murder. Richard had a history of drug-related charges, assault, and other minor offenses. Public scrutiny intensified as locals speculated about his involvement, and he found himself in a whirlwind of accusations and suspicion. Tobin, however, publicly denied any involvement. He posted on social media stating, "I would never hurt Rachel. She meant the world to me." He begged the public to allow him and Rachel's family space to grieve. While his words brought comfort to some, many were unconvinced, and the community continued to look at him with suspicion. Just when it seemed the investigation might hit a wall, detectives received a breakthrough. a DNA match from the crime scene, but this match didn't lead to Richard Tobin. Instead, it linked to an unsolved case nearly 3,000 miles away in Los Angeles, California. Back in March, a man had broken into a young girl's home, assaulted her, and fled the scene. Security footage captured the suspect, a Hispanic man in his mid-20s, around 5 feet 9 inches and weighing 160 pounds. The police quickly released the footage, showing the man leaving the scene shirtless. The connection to Rachel's murder suggested that her death was the work of a stranger, a dangerous individual capable of crossing state lines to commit heinous crimes. Authorities now believed Rachel had fallen victim to a cold-blooded predator, a random attack by a violent individual unknown to her. With a possible serial offender on the loose, the case took on a whole new level of urgency. The suspect's DNA linked him to 2 violent crimes, the attack in Los Angeles and Rachel's murder in Bel Air. Yet he remained unidentified. Authorities issued a public alert, warning the community of the danger and sharing the suspect's description. They appealed to the public for help, hoping someone might recognize him from the footage. To help aid in the investigation, the Morin family worked with criminal profiler Pat Brown to determine potential suspect traits. The potential suspect traits were listed on new flyers in both English and Spanish, which were posted and handed out by volunteers Tuesday evening near the Immigrant Trail in target areas. Thousands of those flyers went to Los Angeles, where the suspect was linked to an assault against a young girl in a home invasion. Morin's murder made national headlines. The hosts of a true crime podcast brought attention to the case and added to the reward. The hosts of the Mile Higher podcast added an extra $5,000 to the reward, leading to the arrest of Morin's killer, bringing the reward to $35,000. The Harford County Sheriff's Office released a suspect sketch. It's been shown to the people out there in Los Angeles who were at that crime scene, and they all believe it fairly and more accurately represents the suspect, Harford County Sheriff Jeffrey Galler. Richard Tobin's life had been turned upside down. The media frenzy surrounding the case, combined with the local community's doubts about his innocence, was overwhelming. Richard posted frequently on social media, expressing his love for Rachel and his hope that her killer would be caught. But with each post, he faced a barrage of angry comments, accusations, and hateful messages from those who believed he was somehow involved. Despite the pain of public suspicion, Richard remained steadfast in his defense, insisting he had nothing to do with Rachel's death. His pleas for understanding were drowned out by the community's grief and anger. Richard's criminal record made it easy for people to blame him, even though no evidence pointed to him as the killer. In the meantime, an undocumented migrant was arrested for the high-profile murder of Rachel Morin. Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, a 23-year-old from El Salvador, was arrested on June 14th at a bar in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Harford County Sheriff Jeff Galler said a lead involving genetic genealogy led them to their suspect in Oklahoma. The case has become a topic of debate in the presidential race. Martinez Hernandez had crossed the border into the U.S. in February 2023 after an arrest warrant was issued for the murder of a young woman in El Salvador in January 2023. Then, in March of 2023, investigators say he assaulted a 9-year-old girl and her mother at a home in Los Angeles. Investigators said that the suspect has connections in the Washington, D.C. area, in both Virginia and Prince George's County, Maryland, and has ties to known gangs. Martinez Hernandez was extradited to Maryland on June 18th. His extradition began with officers in Oklahoma loading him into a plane in shackles and handcuffs. He then took the 1,200-mile flight to Maryland, landing at Martin State Airport around 12:30 p.m. He was then driven by deputies to the Harford County Detention Center. Harford County Sheriff Jeffrey Galler said, "Our state does not have the death penalty, but I certainly hope that the court will give him the sentence of life without the possibility parole." Former President Donald Trump called Rachel Morin's mother to express his condolences. He's taken interest in this case because it has ramped up discussions about immigration in the U.S. recently. With Martinez Hernandez back in Maryland, Morin's family is looking forward to getting justice for her murder. On July 17th, Michael Morin, the brother of Rachel Morin, spoke at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. He blamed President Biden's immigration policies for his sister's murder. As of October 2024, Victor Martinez Hernandez faces charges of first-degree murder and rape, with the Morin family pushing for the maximum penalty of life without parole. Maryland abolished the death penalty, but the family's attorney stated that Life without parole is the most serious consequence you can face in the criminal justice system. The case is overdue until 2025. For the people of Bel Air, Rachel's murder has left a permanent scar on the community. Her family and friends organized an honor and remembrance walk near the spot where Rachel was found, placing photos and flowers in her memory. The walk served as a time for healing, but also as a reminder of the dangers that lurk, even in the most familiar places.